YouTube. Today I just thought I'd go over how I strap down my golf cart, and for me this has been a process of trial and error, and I've learned the best way to strap it down so that it stays put and it stays tight and it doesn't move around, and it's just the way that it's worked best for me. So I'll just pull the golf cart in and I'll go over how I load it and why I load it this way, and then we'll go over how I strap it down to keep it in place. Okay, so first off, I have a Toyhauler with a 14-foot garage, and when you're loading a four-wheeler or a golf cart, ATV, side-by-side, whenever you're loading your toys in there, you have to keep in mind weight distribution. So if you've got right here, about right here, this is about the front, most forward part of my Toyhauler. And as you can see, that's about one axle right here, and then the rest is all to the back. So you've got what you could call a seesaw effect. So the further you load your heaviest things to the back, the less tongue weight you've got. Now, tongue weight is very important because you need the right amount of tongue weight to keep enough load on the truck so that this trailer doesn't wobble going down the road or try to lift your rear tires off the ground. So for me, when I'm loading my Toyhauler, the golf cart is usually the heaviest thing that I put in here. So when I load it, I pull it as far forward as I can get it. So that puts as much weight to the front of this camper as possible, because I like a good amount of tongue weight. Now, you can get too much, but you're not going to get too much loading it from back here because it's all behind the axles. But you definitely want to keep your weight as close to the axles as possible. So as you can see, I've got these flush mount D-ring tie downs in the floor, and I added double the amount that was here from the factory, because it always seemed like I never had tie downs in the right spot. So like, I added this row, there's one under that box right there, that tote, but I added this whole row, then this row was factory, that row back there was factory, and I come in and added another row right here so that I had more access points. You're gonna want to invest in some good quality tie downs and they don't have to be super expensive, but they do need to be rated for the amount of weight that you're tying down. So you want to look under here and find some good points to tie to. I keep telling myself every time I'm gonna bolt a couple links of chain under here in some selected spots. So that I can just hook this hook right into a chain right here, but I haven't done it yet. So here's what I normally do: is I go right around, this is a spring, I go right around that, then I'm going to run this strap back here in an X pattern so that it pulls in every direction, so that you don't have to worry about your golf cart rolling backwards and forwards or shifting side to side. Because if this thing shifts a couple inches and gets against the wall or anything like that, it's going to do some damage, because there's a lot of vibration in the back of these things for some reason. So you take your ratchet strap, get your strap untwisted, feed it through, and then all the way back. You wrap it back around and come all the way back through. You pull this all through here. I have a D-ring right here in the floor, and then this strap's going to go there. And see, by pulling this through and then all the way back, I can cinch this down good, so I don't have a lot of slack on my spool when I'm ratcheting and tightening this down. You want to just snug this up for now, because it will try to roll the golf cart, and we don't want that right now. And then we'll get one going the other direction. And I'm gonna go back here and find me a good anchor point. And for me, it's right here in this parking brake bracket. It's a good solid piece of metal right there to tie to. So I'm gonna hook to that. Anytime you can, it's best to leave the suspension unloaded, meaning you don't want to pull your suspension down tight. You want to attach to the axles or somewhere close like that. For me, I have to hook right here because it's really about the only place I have that works. Plus, I want to pull my suspension down just a little bit because my golf cart is lifted and it will hit the ceiling in my camper, so I have to pull it down. But it's best if you don't, because if you leave it so that the suspension is unloaded, that gives that much, takes that much less stress off your camper. So we're going to hook right here in this D-ring, cinch that tight. Now we can kind of start to crank on it because we're pulling in both directions, front and back. Now see, by crossing this like this, I'm also pulling side to side, so that's going to keep this golf cart from shifting left and right. And so I'm going to go ahead and install, I'm going to go ahead and attach my other two straps. I put 4 straps on it, and that may be overkill, but it holds this golf cart good and solid, because you don't want this thing getting loose back here. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. I'm going to go right there. And then since we're on the right front, we're going to attach it to the left rear D-ring. I know some campers have different, the Toyhauler we had before this had the E-track in it, which that's pretty handy, but it's not as smooth as these flush mounts are for when you're camping. So feed that through. And then back through. Alright, now that one there can be tricky sometimes. But what I can do, I can turn the wheels. So I've got that one hooked, and now normally you wouldn't have these issues with parking on top of the D-ring like that, but I moved my golf cart all the way to one side so that I can get it as far forward as possible to make room for bicycles and such, and I'll load that stuff beside of it and a little bit behind it. And I've built this small wardrobe back here. Never seems to be enough closet space in a camper. And on this one, I put my ratchet back here because it's harder to get to up there, and I'll pull it. I'll be able to ratchet it right here a little easier. Alright, now's the time when we want to go through and make sure that all these are cinched down good and tight. That one's good. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my golf cart off to the side because I've got this wardrobe I built back here, and then I load up the side of it, and I can still get around. Sometimes when we travel and we're staying in a parking lot boondocking overnight, I can still get through here and get to the wardrobe. I try to keep it open, or it's just small stuff like a trash can that I can move out of the way easily enough to get to my wardrobe and get a change of clothes out. And I'll load heavier stuff up here closer to the front, and that's about it. Now we'll start bringing the bikes and stuff in and get those tied down. And also, moving blankets is a really good thing to keep, because anything touching back here, if you've got anything touching one another, it's just going to sit there and rub, and it will rub the paint off of whatever is touching, or it just ain't good. I've had bike seats and handlebars and stuff that's rubbed together and wore the rubber off of them. And so anyway, you just want to make sure that everything's tied down good and secure in the back of here so that nothing's moving around. And that's about it. So guys, I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you hadn't already, go down there and subscribe. I would sure appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.